Welcome back, everybody. Welcome. Today I wanted to make a video. I didn't say quick, but I'll try to make this brief. I had a question, and it was a legit question that made me stop in my tracks and think on how I'm going to answer this question. And I think I did a fairly good job on the answer, but I wanted to address it in a video because this is a type of question that I had when I was new to natural stones. And the question was, how do you know that a particular stone is a mid-range or a finishing stone or a bevel setter or whatever? How do you know, right? So let's take, for example, synthetics. That question is easy because we have grit levels. We have 1000 grit, and we have established throughout the community and experience and gathering information from other people that at 1000 grit is a good bevel setter. You can do an 800, 1000, 1200. Some people can go lower for the initial bevel set, but it is like a standard that a 1000 is a good bevel setter for a razor. It's actually a fantastic stone for a knife too. For a kitchen knife, you can start at 1000 grit. Now, when it comes to natural stones, what is the magic formula? The same week that I had that question, there was questions about which stone is best. A Shobudani, which one provides a better edge? A Shobudani, Asahi versus a Nakayama or a Suita. And so I wanted to make this video to address some of those things, right? So first off, it is not an exact science. You have to try the stones if you're not buying from a source that it is a reliable source that you can trust. Therefore, I advise you buy from a reliable source. How do you know it's a reliable source if you're finding this video for this first time? Well, join our groups in Facebook. I can put the post below. If you ask a question down below in the comments, I'll give you some links on. There's 3 or 4 very good honing and sharpening groups in Facebook that you can go and try to get their opinion on who has a reliable source for stones. And I'm talking stones overall. JNAT, Japanese Naturals, Cauticles, Belgian Blues, Arkansas, etc. Now, there are some standards within some of the stones. Let's take, for example, Arkansas, right? So Dan's is one of the staples right now. Norton used to make awesome Pike. All those used to have awesome Arkansas stones. Now, Arkansas are a type of stone that is completely different than a Japanese natural stone in the formation. And if you are purchasing or you're shopping for a natural stone, an Arkansas natural stone, you will see that they don't have grit levels, and then they treat all their stones with either is a hard, is a soft, or is a hard surgical or translucent. They already have it, right? So according to the formation of the stone, of the rock formation, it has a different coloration, different density, and that density makes it translucent. Usually the translucent are higher grit. You can tell because they're extremely smooth. The smoothness is super important because smoothness means less drag. Less drag means less resistant, less metal getting cut, getting away from your tool. Therefore, Arkansas are a lot easier than the rest. Arkansas, if you find a translucent, which means that you can put a light on this one, you can see through. You are fairly certain that that is a finishing stone for at least knives. I used Arkansas on all my pocket knives, and I finished all my pocket knives, and I had a lot on a translucent Arkansas Transarc, and that's fantastic. You can also finish a stone in those stones you can finish a razor. Now there are some translucents that are finer than others because they're all naturals. They're all different, right? So let's say you want to buy a stone and you go to a website that sells all kinds of Japanese stones. You're like, I want to buy a finishing stone, and a friend of yours tells you get a finishing stone. Well, some websites will say finishing stone or awasedo. Awasedo means a finishing stone in Japanese, and you get this awasedo advertised to you as a finishing stone. I have purchased very high-end awasedos before that would not finish a razor. I mean, you can finish on it, but you're not gonna get a pleasant shave on it because razor sharpening is tiny. Our community won't probably advertise that, but it's tiny. We are a very small community that actually still does this. Therefore, most stones sold by Japanese, even in Japan, when I was in Japan, I will go to a store and they will have one or two razors and they will have dozens of knives, and you can buy a stone. And an awasedo doesn't mean the same thing that an awasedo means for me. An awasedo for me has to be a hard stone that I can get a fantastic edge on it and I can finish this razor or any razor, right? Now, awasedo for a carpenter or a chef doesn't necessarily mean the same thing, right? Because in awasedo, when you ask a chef that does their own, or a person that sharpens knives, kitchen knives, a lot of them finish their knives in 5,000-6,000 grit, sometimes 8,000 grit. But you know, not a lot of chefs are finishing in under 20,000 grit. So when you talk about natural stone, Japanese natural stones, you will get something that will finish and is a great awasedo, but might not be the right awasedo that you're looking for. It might not be the finishing stone that you're looking for. That's why you want to ask the question, is this a good finishing stone for a razor? Is it a good finishing stone for a razor? And some of the more popular vendors, such as A-Frames and JNS and JNS, the Japanese natural stones, and others, will tell you this is a fantastic one for a razor. Some use scales. Some use a scale from 1 to 10 on hardness and 1 through 5 for hardness. And a lot of people equate hardness with how well it will perform at the final stage as a finisher, right? So, and that is almost always true. I say almost, right? But hardness in a scale it's hard to quantify with a number, because what is hard for me, it might not be as hard for you. What I say is a 5 might be a 4 for you. I like Keith Johnson. He says it's hard enough. And I absolutely love the way that he says it. This stone is hard enough to finish a razor, or this stone is barely hard enough to finish it. So let's say you bought a stone, but you don't think is what you expect. You want to test it. Well, if it is a Japanese natural stone or a Karuko or any other natural stones, you have to test it. I like using gold dollars. Gold dollars for testing razors. For testing stones. Before you test a stone, if you are new, you need to get that razor shave ready by somebody that can hone and does it well. Once you have a sample that you have tried, then you can start judging, right? That makes sense? Because if you do not know, you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. So my very first razor was a Ralph Aus, the first razor that I purchased. The first razor that I actually bought at a fair, and I was just practicing with some marks. I bought it shave ready, and it was fantastic. It's excellent edge. So I shaved a couple times, and then I bought more razors, and then my goal was to make it like that one, and needed to shave like that one or better, and that was my goal. Now, when stones, and I'm gonna move the camera and show you some examples. Some stones will be harder than others. How can you tell if it is harder than others? Some people tap them, see the sound. Some people actually see how smooth they are. You can actually feel. You hear that? You can feel it. That's a lot louder. You can do it with your lips. On cuticles is super awesome. If you do it with your lips, do dry lips, and you go over them, and the stone had been lapped with the same grit. So if you use the same lapping plate on the same surface, and you try, and one is smoother than the other one, that is a indication, not the entire thing. That is an indication that the smoother one, the one that's making less noise or has a higher pitch noise, it's higher grit. And I do that because we don't have grit levels on natural stones. Now, lapping plate. I prefer lapping plates over using anything else to lap. I do use SIG powder, but that's a subject for another video. But the reason I use lapping plates, and I actually enjoy it, because I can tell how fast a stone is slurrying, how fast I can provide slurry. When you're lapping a stone for the very first time and you create a grit, if you have not seen it, I have a very good video on how to lap and clean your stones. Watch it. I also have a playlist on how testing stones, so you can see different ways that I do. But when you are lapping your stone, you can tell how fast you are actually shaving and flattening that particular stone. You can see how much slurry it gets, how fast it slurries. Some stones are so soft that they slurry just by using your razor on it, right? So I'm gonna change the camera angle, and we're gonna do a little small experiment, and I won't take long, I promise. All right, guys, so let's say, like I was mentioning, you have a brand new stone. So I have several different stones here, and this one is a perfect example. This is a brand new stone that I'm testing, and you want to know where does it, is it a mid-range, is it a finishing stone, right? So things that you could use, first off, you need to know how to hone. You need to be able to, if you're testing a finishing stone, the ultimate test is your shave, period. A lot of people use a lot of different methods, the hanging hair test, all kinds of different methods. And those are valid. They have their validity, oh my goodness, they're valid. But the ultimate test is how it feels in your face. So the best thing you can do if you want to find a finisher is shave, hone, shave, and hone. Let's say you have a finisher already, and then you can compare that same razor versus the finisher that you have already used in the past, right? Now, when you are honing, what you're doing ultimately is you are sanding. If you know anything about sanding wood or sanding a car, wet sanding, that's what you're doing. You are going up in grit all the way until you get fine edge, right? But how do we achieve that? When I put a 1000 edge on this, and all I'm gonna do right now is, just so we can go as an example, if I put a 1000 grit, take a 1000 grit, and I just set the bevel on this razor. This razor used to be shape ready. It's not anymore, right? Because I am putting serrations, I am putting scratches on the bevel on that entire edge of a 1000 grit. So now thinking about woodworking, how would that look compared to serrations or scratches made by I don't know, 4000 grit, right? So when you are honing, that's what you're doing. You're going up in grit. The very next grit needs to erase those serrations and replace them perhaps with their own serrations. So when you are using, let's say 1000, when how do you know how the serrations look? Well, sometimes you can see it in some razors. You can see the scratches if you tilt it good enough in the light. But I recommend you get a loop, a jeweler's loop. Just search it like that. They cost like $4.99 on Amazon. But in this case, you could probably see the serrations, maybe if I catch them on the top, right? Because it has been worn so much. But you look at it with a loop, and you need to remember those, how they look. You can buy a microscope, a digital microscope, but it's not needed. But a lot of people have them. It's really cool. You can take cool pictures. Now the light, how it reflects on it, matters. So you have to make it constant. I'm always big on constants. You cannot have variations. You cannot look at an edge at this angle, and then after you do something to that edge, tilt it and look at it this angle. You're not going to get the same result, right? So this has a 1000 scratches on it, right? 1000 grit scratches on it. So let's put this to the side. So if I am testing a stone and I believe that it is a soft stone, that stone should cut fast and it should create a black slurry. I want to show you, right? So first off, let's take this plate off. First off, we have here a Suita. Suitas are notorious for being fast cutters. Not all of them are fast cutters, and not all of them are mid-range. Some actually are good finishers. For example, this one. I actually can finish very nicely on this stone. I have shaved off of it already on my testing. And look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so that was 20 laps or 20 circles. About, I think I did more. And that's all I got. That's all I got. That is the slurry that I got off of it, right? Let's check something else. Let's check another stone. Let's check this one. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at this. 7 circles. Look at that. This is a very soft stone. This stone will take, and it dries fast too. So it's soaked in water. This stone will take those serrations and erase them very fast. And if you see, look at this slurry. It's already turning darker, right? Now, a soft stone does not always equate to a very fast cutting stone. There are some hard stones that cut fast. That's just a fact. There are some soft stones that won't cut as fast, but a softer stone usually will cut deeper serrations, and it will erase lower grit from a natural. So let's go with this Suita, for instance. And I'm gonna make a video just on this stone. But look how long it's taking me to get a decent slurry there. That's not even a decent slurry. I will go more in a normal hone. But just to try to make this video not as fast, a little bit faster. So I'm just gonna make some circles on it. See, the sound is different. But this is a very nice stone. And even though it is a harder stone, it still cuts. And I don't know if you guys can see it. It is hard to see it because it is turning in front of you. But that slurry is getting darker and darker. That means right now, I know for a fact that I can use this Suita after a 1000 grit, and it might need some work. I might need to work on this razor quite a bit for it, but I am 100% sure because of I already honed with this stone and how it cuts and how it finishes. I can do a one hone stone or one stone hone with this particular stone, right? Look at that, right? Now, if this was a harder stone that I took longer to lap, more than likely would not cut this fast. And that's how you start determining. It is quite complicated because sometimes a very hard stone could cut fast, such as this one. Now, if I was to sell this stone to somebody, I would put it in a 4 hardness, 4, maybe 4.5 hardness, hard enough to finish a stone, a razor, and I will rate it from mid-range to finishing. That's how I categorize them. I don't categorize them just specific. This is just a finisher, unless they are just a finisher, right? So this one has a quite range of capability. So when you are working on these, that's how you will do it, right? You will go from like a 1000 and check, and then you can check the edge. You can look and see the serrations. Now, if you get a stone that was sold to you as a finisher, then you treat it like a finisher and test and verify. You know, trust to verify to trust, or whatever. Trust and verify that it is indeed what the seller told you that it was, right? But that's basically how I know. First, let's recap. First, you need to get a stone from a seller that you can trust, that is telling you what kind of stone it is. Second, you need to just test it. You need to shave with it. You need to see how well or how bad it shaves. How does it finish if you are looking for a finishing stone, right? Even mid-range stones, 2 mid-range stones proven by you, might not cut the same way. This is a mid-range stone, and I don't use it with my razors. I use it with knives because I don't like the edge that provides on a razor. I don't like how it cleans the 1000 grit, how long it takes, etc. Right? Now, if you're looking for a mid-range stone, all it is, you have to test, and you have to test. You have to test. So, my recommendation, get a good, reliable source of your natural stone, and then test. You can hear it, you can feel it, the smoothness on it, the hardness on it. When you're lapping, how fast does it slurry? Does it slurry at all? Is it cutting metal at all? Is it burnishing that edge? Burnishing usually are stones that are really freaking hard, and it's not even cutting. Nothing is coming off, but when you look at the edge, it just burnishes it. Is it just polishing it? You know, so all those things. Get a loupe, 40x, 60x, it's plenty. And you can see the differences. And that's how I started, and that's how I still use my loupe to this day, years of honing. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful. I know it went longer than I was expecting, and I apologize for that. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments below. Any questions that you want me to make a video on, let me know. If I don't have a video on it, I will make a video on it. If I do, I will probably tell you, go check this video out. Check my playlist. I have just a ton of videos. If you want me to redo a video because it's dated, let me know. My first video came out over 4 years ago. So, you know, a lot of the things change, right? Some things change. So stick around, subscribe, hit me up, be nice, and have a great day.